Since Zero is such a fast digger, he starts helping Stanley with his holes, which makes the other boys envious. One afternoon, Zero shares the story of his mother, who worked hard to provide for him, but one day she disappeared. Since then Zero has been living on the streets. Sometime later, one of the mean boys continues to give Stanley a hard time for having help in the hole. Stanley confronts him and Podansky encourages them to fight to solve their problem. As the boys struggle on the ground, Stanley gets easily overpowered, so Zero jumps in to help and almost kills the other guy. Podansky shoots in the air to make them stop, and soon the warden comes by to hear what happened. The boys tell her that Zero is helping Stanley, so he immediately clarifies that he's teaching Zero to read in return. However, the warden is furious, and Podansky continuously makes fun of Zero as he calls him dumb. Zero finally snaps and hits Podansky with a shovel before running away in the desert. Mr. Sir wants to go after him, but the warden tells him not to. Zero had nobody, so they could just delete his files and pretend he was never here. In the evening, the boys discuss how Zero will die in the desert. Stanley can't stop worrying and thinks about the story of Stanley the First surviving 16 days in the desert after Kate robbed him. Apparently he found refuge in some place called God's Thumb, but nobody knows what it is, and Stanley the First couldn't tell because he was half crazy when they found him. The next day, a new kid arrives to replace Zero, which bothers Stanley. He makes a plan, and when Mr. Sir comes to fill their canteens, Stanley steals the truck. Mr. Sir immediately goes after him and holds onto the door, so Stanley tries to push him away and gets distracted, causing the truck to fall into a hole. Refusing to give up, Stanley leaves the vehicle and runs into the desert as the other boys cheer him on. When the warden hears about it, she orders Mr. Sir to report Stanley as missing in 2 weeks because by then there won't be anything to find. Under the scorching sun, Stanley continues walking and ignoring all the poisonous lizards in the area. Eventually he finds Sam's boat and Zero is underneath, tired but alive. He's been surviving by eating the peaches Kate had given Sam all those years ago, which became jam in the jars. After Stanley also eats some, he notices a mountain in the distance that looks like a thumb and realizes that's where his